Okay, well, welcome back to Black Swan Outdoors. I know I've been doing a lot of videos here just in my kitchen on the kitchen counter, and I hope that's not terribly boring. I have tried to do videos outside. I tried to do one today. The GoPro shut off at about 15 minutes into this video because it was too hot, and so I gave up. I came inside so that I could do this video. I will try my absolute best to do some more outdoor videos, something a little bit more visually stimulating than just me sitting in my kitchen. But today's conversation is going to be about binoculars. I think there's I don't think there's a lot of information that people talk about binoculars, and I certainly see a lot of people out in the field with what I think might be maybe not the best binoculars for the application. So I thought maybe we'd do is go through a few kind of tips. This isn't really going to be a product review or really going to go in depth on all the features of what to look for in a binocular. I'm just going to kind of go over some more broad things, some things that I like, or some kind of tips or whatever. So hopefully this is helpful. So without too much further ado, let me kind of jump into it. So the primary thing that I look for in a good pair of binoculars is the lens sizes. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with binoculars, they have there's two sets of lenses. The first set of lenses is a magnifying lens, and then in the front, or what I'll call the front, is the objective lens. So this is the objective lens, and this is the magnification lens. So the magnification lens essentially is, well, it's going to magnify your vision. So when the size of the lens is going to be indicated here, like at the top, it'll say 10 by 32. So what that means is that the thing that you're looking at in a 10 by 32 binoculars or field glasses, if I say glasses or field glasses, I apologize. But it's all the same thing. But that just basically means that it's 10 times closer to you. And this pair of binoculars is a 9 by 25. So that just means it's 9 times closer. These are 8 by 25, and so on. So you can go up and to much more powerful glasses. And sometimes I think a lot of times people equate the binoculars as the higher the magnification, the better the quality, or the better the binoculars will be in terms of performance. And that's not often the case. The higher the magnification that you have, the more narrow your field of view is going to be. So, for example, if we're looking at this pair of binoculars, I can see this is a wide view, field of view. If I was to increase the magnification, the field of view is going to get much tighter. And so why that's a concern is that depending on what you're looking at, something that might be harder to find, something that's moving quicker, you want a wider field of view so that you can find those things quicker and faster. A greater the magnification, you're going to get more detail if that's what you need, but you're going to sacrifice that field of view. And then also with that, the higher that magnification, any little movement that you're going to make with your hand is also going to be reflected in the picture of what you're looking at. So it's going to be harder to stabilize that view. Now, the second lens that we want to be concerned with then is the objective lens. And essentially, the role of this objective lens is to allow light to come into the binoculars. And so the more light that you have in, the better the resolution. So the better, the crisper that image is going to be. And where this plays in a particularly good, important role is in low light conditions. So you really want a larger objective lens, and that's going to help you be able to see in darker twilight to dark conditions. So you can use, for example, many people are often not aware that you can use binoculars at night. And we'll talk about how to find those, what to look for in those binoculars. But if you're using them for astronomy, you might want something that's going to have a larger objective lens for that reason. So for glasses that have a great amount of have a large amount of magnification or very large objective lenses, say up to like 70 millimeters, that's going to require a tripod. Then they're no longer able to stabilize, and it might be uncomfortable to wear around your neck. They may be hard to stabilize when you're looking at things by your arm, by just holding them. And then they're going to be heavier and bulkier and harder to travel. So then you're kind of into kind of a telescope area, and oftentimes you'll see spotting scopes kind of bridge that divide, I guess. So that's why you see a lot of spotting scopes versus binoculars, and where the advantages is. And so just grabbing the largest magnification that's available isn't always going to give you the best outcomes, and depending on what you want. I would say over my years of picking up binoculars, and these are certainly not all of the binoculars that I've had, probably the quintessential binocular, kind of the workhorse binocular, the best general purpose binocular, the one that I'll kind of judge everything else on, is an 8x42. And an 8x42 is going to give you enough of a magnification that you're going to be able to see many things with relative detail and up close. Certainly more stable than a 9 or even a 10. But then the larger objective lens is going to give you a whole lot of light in there. So an 8x42 is going to be a very good in everything that you want. And when you kind of get into the category of, would also say very good, from good to poor to excellent on that kind of scale, once you're kind of up in that higher reaches of those scales, that's where you want to, in my opinion, spend a little bit more money. You can buy cheap binoculars that aren't going to be constructed very well, and they're just going to fall apart much quicker, or if you drop them, for example, they're going to be damaged much easier, or they're not going to be waterproofed. Or they're not going to be very comfortable, or they're going to be excessively heavy. So when you're getting a pair of kind of higher end glasses, I think that, if you're going to spend a little bit of money, get a good pair of kind of general use glasses. These 8x42s for me are great. I do a lot of bird watching, and a size something like this is going to be an excellent choice for bird watching. It's going to do well in low light conditions. It's going to be good for finding those birds in trees that are moving around quick. And it's also going to be pretty decent for hunting. Now, if you're a hunter and you're going after kind of something that's moving pretty slow, you might not need to have an 8. You could bump that up to, to a 10, and that'd be perfectly fine. It gives you an option to the ability to see a little bit farther, which is advantageous. Oftentimes, if you're shooting off of like long distances, and then the other thing would be this is considering the objective lens size if you're hunting in, say, woods. And I see a lot of people hunting with a compact pair of glasses, and that's kind of where a pair of something like this goes. These are a little bit larger objective lens than, say, the 25 that you often see in a pair of compacts like this. The Tasco Bushnell makes a kind of a cheap glasses, and these work really well for hunting, traveling conditions, or if you just you want something lightweight, put in your pocket to carry with you. I like that they actually, with Bushnell, they actually increased the objective lens on these to 32, which gives you the ability for hunting purposes. I think it really kind of helps a lot. So if you're, especially for deer hunting, where you're hunting in the early evening in the morning, these are certainly something to consider for the traveler, the person that wants to kind of you want to keep something in your car, or something for occasional use. But a pair of glasses like this isn't going to last. Bushnell or Tasco, some of the cheaper brands, might not last as long. So you're going to be spending money on a pair of these, and then you might find that you have to buy a pair later on down the road. Now, speaking about that, my first pair of good, or what I would consider good or decent binoculars, were these Nikons. These are 9x25s. These are excellent travel binoculars. They're extremely lightweight. They're pretty rugged. The 9 is a good magnification, I think, for a travel glasses. They're a little darker for bird watching, but where I used these primarily was canoeing, wilderness canoeing, and I would use them for, you see the occasional moose or bear off on the water. You're in open water, it's pretty bright. You don't have to worry too much about, the dark forest. And what I used these a lot for was finding a portage. So I would find off of the map the bearing of where that portage is ahead of me, and then use these to spy ahead of me to see exactly where that opening of that portage was. So that's where these were particularly handy. Over the course of 15, 20, maybe 20, 30, 25 years, I guess, these have really kind of seen their day. Dropped them in the lake a few times. They're not terribly waterproof. They've just started to wear out. Didn't get the clarity from the lenses. They're still, relatively decent. They're good backups I'll use, but I opted to get something a little bit more rugged, that's going to kind of last kind of the wear and tear. And since it's primarily for canoeing as travel, I felt like I could up the ante a little bit. So I got an 8x30s. So I have a little bit wider field of view, more light capacity in theirs, and then just a great construction. And then the quality of the glass is going to be a step up from the Nikon. Nikon does do good quality glass. They have a cheaper models and they have more expensive models. I think these are fairly inexpensive side. I believe these may have been, I don't know, maybe $80-something. But when you're jumping up to something like this, I think this was just sub 200, you get a little bit better quality of glasses and kind of overall use. They're a little bulkier and they're a little heavier, just a bit, and just a bit bigger, but I get a lot more functionality out of them. So these are kind of my go-to field glasses for pretty much everything, kind of general use now, in canoeing in particular. So not always do you need to have super great magnification. Sometimes having, something like at the 7 is pretty handy. So these are some old school glass. I think I picked these up at a thrift store or something that I saw. These are 7x35, not terribly common anymore. The 7x35, I think there's a few models are still being kicking around on this. This is the reason why I want to show these. They have an excellent construction. They are a little heavier, but they're kind of a tank. You could drop them. They're pretty robust. I mean, I don't know. They're probably 50, 60 years old. And they're just kind of a fun pair of glasses, and they're not very expensive, and the glass is not very good. But if you want to compare, this is some sizes. This 7x32, 10x32. The technology, you can see, has gotten much better over the course of the years to making a smaller, lighter pair of binoculars that would be comparable. But these are great, if you're on a trail and you see a butterfly up close, or something like that you're not needing something very far. These have kind of served that purpose. So that kind of leaves us to, I want to talk a little more specifically about low light conditions, and that's where I got these glasses for. These are the 8x30s. I'm sorry, 7x30s, and they are, as you can see, have a very large diameter here on the magnification lens, and they also have quite large objective lens. So they're going to allow a lot of light in. Now, you can use these, and a lot of people may or may not realize this, but you can use these for astronomy or for seeing in this night sky because you have such a large objective lens, and because this the diameter of your magnifying lens is adequate enough to allow light into your pupil. So what we look for is what's called the exit pupil size. And you can find your exit pupil size by taking the taking the magnification lens and dividing that by your objective lens. And so for something like this, that's going to give us like 7.1 or 7.14. And what that means is that if my pupil is 7 or a little larger than 7 diameter, 7 millimeters in diameter, I'm going to be able to see quite well with these in darkness. So that can be really, really beneficial. So you can take a look at, the objective lens and the magnification lens and do that little math equation to figure out if those pair of glasses are going to be well for you. Now keep in mind your pupils are going to be about 2 millimeters, I believe, in diameter until it gets dark, and then they're going to dilate. Once they dilate, they're going to go up to 7. Some people have pupils as large as 8, 9 millimeters. You can, if you know the size of your pupil, you can kind of figure out what kind of glasses, but most people are going to have a 7. Now, when you get older, your pupils don't dilate as much at night. It's harder for you to see when it's darker. So keep that in mind. And also, if you're under the age of 25, your eyes may have not fully developed yet, so you may not have very large pupils either. So just kind of food for thought on that. But yeah, if you have a little bit of light, like moonlight, for example, from the starlight, you can see quite well if you have the right sized binoculars. These, I picked these up on Amazon. They're the Barskas, waterproof floating binoculars. And so again, I wanted for canoeing, or at the time, I didn't really care too much about weight. I wanted it in the boat. But one of the nice things about these is, and I don't know if I can do this, but it has a rangefinder inside here, which you can kind of just see here. And so I can line things up with this, with that rangefinder, and then plug that, what I see in there in the rangefinder, into an equation similar to, or like a rifle scope, to get the distance. So the height is what I'm measuring of that object, whatever it is, hay bale, deer, whatever, and I'm going to multiply that height by 1,000, and then I'm going to divide it by the measurement that I've measured by the tick marks inside the with the rangefinder, and then that's going to give me a good indicator of the range of the distance of whatever it is. So in this particular case, I was using these for deer hunting off of a deer stand. For bow hunting, I dropped these off of the deer stand and knocked the lens and knocked it out so that you kind of see double, and I forget the technical term, occurrence for it, occludence or something. And now these are pretty much not really functional with two eyes open. So $80 went down the drain with a simple drop. If I dropped these from the deer stand, it's absolutely no big deal at all. They're waterproof, fog-proof, they're like tanks. I don't have to worry about that. Again, that just kind of goes to show, you spend $80, and if I was going to spend another $80, I could spend the same amount of money and have bought one pair of glasses, to have. So I guess you buy once, you cry once, right? So what I would say is that, you can look for a kind of a general purpose glasses, and you could look for something very specific to where you're at. So if you're looking, if you're doing something very specific, you want to consider what you're looking at and where you're looking at it, and then decide on the magnification that you need based on the field of view that you need, and decide on the objective lens side based off of convenience, transportation, transportability, and then what time of day you're going to be using these. So if you're a birder and you're going early in the morning where birds are most active and there's less light, then you're going to want that larger objective lens. If you're hunting over long courses of, say on a mountain ridges where there's tons of light, and you can get away with a smaller objective lens and a higher magnification. But if you need to be looking at something for long periods of time, then you're going to want something very stable as well. So all of these decisions have to be balanced based off of what you're doing, those conditions, and then of course your bank account too. So because these binoculars can get very, very expensive, just like knives and anything else. And so when I talk about knives, and I'll do videos on knives in a little bit, one thing I like to stress is, yeah, you can get one type of knife is going to come with a particular type of extra quality or whatever, and then they're going to make you pay for that. But at some point, you're really not getting any great advantage of that other than, the aesthetics of that, of that knife brand, or that craft-made knife versus, something that's kind of more middle of the road. So you just have to be very careful, I think, about how you spend your money on these things. Some things are not worth spending tons of money. I would never spend a ton of money on a pair of compact glasses. These are maybe 20 bucks, 10 bucks you can get, and they're going to be fine for what they're made for. But I will spend more money, the $300-400 range or whatever these were, these Leopolds, or these Steiners that were a little bit, again, they're kind of in that upper echelon, but not super expensive. So save your dimes and get something good. It would be my recommendation. But get what you need, considering balancing that objective lens with the magnification. So hopefully this was helpful. More videos coming. Please remember to like and subscribe, and please comment. Let me know if you like this content, or if you'd like to chime in on something that I've missed. I would love to see you jump in there. Thank you.